The next thing we're going to look at is we're going to start thinking about fair trade. Most of you have heard about this before, but we're going to think about how does this fit in with chocolate. Now, what you're going to do if this works is in a minute, you're going to get a question screens that come up. And what I want you to think about is different people who help to bring our chocolate to our supermarkets. Now, we've picked a figure of €1, just because it's nicely dividable. It has 100 cents in it. So there's lots of different people that are involved in bringing this. The farmer, the person who actually grows the cocoa beans, the cocoa buyer, the person who buys those beans from the farmer, the importer, so the person who brings it into the country. So in our case, the Czech Republic, the chocolate company who sell it, who package it, the shops who sell it, and the government who will tax it, who will take a little bit of that money. And what the question is going to ask you for each of these six people, for a normal non-fair trade bar of chocolate, how much for of the €1 do you think they get? Do you think maybe the farmer gets 50 cents, cocoa buyer gets 5? Do you think maybe the government gets 10? So for each one, how much do you think they all get? And you'll see the answers. You'll see if you're right on the next one. Okay, so let's see if you were right. The farmer gets 8 cents. So he gets about 8% of the price you pay. So if you pay €1 for a bar of chocolate, 8 cents of that will end up in the farmer's pocket. Cocoa buyer gets 7. This person buys it off the farmer gets 7. The importer gets 14. The chocolate companies, that might be Nestle, gets 28. The shops get 28, so that would be somewhere like Tesco would get 28 cents. And the government gets 15. Now, the question to think about is, do you think this is fair? Now, think about who is it here who's doing all the hard work? Is the government doing all the hard work to get their 15 cents? Nearly double what the farmer gets? Chocolate company gets more than triple, so does the shop. Is that fair? Now, what we're going to think about now is as the world becomes smaller as a result of technological advances and consumers are being made more aware of the conditions in which products are made, consumers and industrialized companies are developing a conscience and demanding higher standards, fair trade agreements, and ethical trading policies to support developing countries. So this is things like we watch documentaries like the one you've just watched, and we're becoming more aware, and we've started to think, well, is that right? Do I want to spend? Do I want to be part of that system where the money I spend continues this cycle of, like we saw last week, sweatshop labour, of poor treatment in developing countries? The idea of developing a conscience is we start to think about this, and we start to think about issues of right and wrong. We start to say, hang on, if I'm spending my money, I want to make sure that people aren't being abused, being hurt in this process. And fair trade agreement and ethical trading policies are one way we can stop that. We'll see what that means in a second. Now, fair trade means the producer receives a guaranteed and a fair price for the product, regardless of the price in the world market. Now, if we're saying regardless of the price in the world market, that means it doesn't matter if the cost of chopped cocoa beans go down, the producer is always going to get a fair price. Okay, so they will get, maybe that's going to be per kilo, maybe that's going to be €1, €10, regardless of what other companies are paying. And that means that their quality of life improves, as will the long-term prospects of the children. Because if they're getting a guaranteed price and they're not maybe having some years where they're being paid a tenth, a 20th of what they got last year, they know they're getting a guaranteed income. They can be paying for their children to go to school because maybe their children won't be required. Firstly, they'll have the money to pay for school. Also, their children, if they're getting a good price for their goods, they can maybe afford to pay other people to help them in their farms. They're not having to rely on their children as labour. It also means that ensures safer working conditions and limits. Okay, because fair trade insists on, if you're a fair trade farmer, we'll give you a fair price, but in exchange, you've got to make sure that you're working in safe conditions, that your young children aren't working, and that you're not working for too long. Now, fair trade products are becoming more widespread and they include tea, coffee, sugar, chocolate that we're looking at, and clothing. Now, Here's an example of fair trade grades companies and how well and how good the working conditions and the people working for them are. So how well are the farmers being treated? Are they working in safe conditions? Are they getting a fair price for the chocolate? Now, most of these brands probably aren't that familiar to you. Divine's probably the only one I'm very familiar with in the UK because they sell quite widely. But the ones that are more familiar are maybe ones like Nestle, Mars, Mondelez owns Cadbury, which if you ever go to the UK you would get instead of Milka, um, and Ghirardelli, which owns Lindt chocolate. Hershey, so think Hershey's Kisses. I think they also own Reese's chocolate. That might be Nestle. Ferrero, so Ferrero Rocher, and Godiva chocolate. These are the ones that are more familiar. So have a look at this. Where do you buy your chocolate from? Now, before you start the next keyword, just next task, just to remind you the keywords. Fair trade's a trading system that makes sure people who grow or make the product get a fair price for their work. Ethical trading is a system where companies have agreed rules about their trading practices. This includes how they treat the workers, making sure the environment is protected and their workers are respected. It puts the great phrase here, human need before greed and profit. So it's looking at keeping people safe before rather than making money at the expense of people. And that means if we say at the expense of people, it means you make lots of money, but your workers are treated really badly and have really bad living conditions. And the last one, sustainable development. So this is economic development that occurs without depleting natural resources, and it can continue forever. Indefinitely means forever. So this is thinking about not using up all the natural resources, things like oil, coal in a country and damaging the environment. Okay. Now the task you're going to do is you're going to watch the next YouTube video, and this is one I've made. This is one an 8-minute video. And while you're doing that, you're going to, after watching it or while watching it, you're going to list the ways people can benefit from fair trade. So how can the farmer benefit? Farmers obvious. Retailers benefit. They're the people who are selling it. And consumers, that's us, the people buying things. So watch the video and try and get as much in each column as you can.